Hi, this is Luke from Acoustics. I wanted to do a quick little care and maintenance video. Nothing crazy, just kind of talking general care of guitars today, and maybe we'll do a violin one tomorrow. Just kind of see how this goes. So, I want to start out with talking about care of guitars. So one thing, so I've got your free hand for a minute because I want to walk over here and show you my humidifier, because this is one thing that most guitars need quite a bit of, but most people don't talk about. Now this is more for modern guitars. So vintage guitars, do they need humidity? Yes. Do they tend to have as many problems? No, and that's for various reasons we can talk over. But for most guitars, modernly made right now, you need to humidify your guitar. So in my shop, you can see, I'll pan this up just a little bit so you can see it. So this, now I'll even get out of the way here. So this is a humidifier that I have in my shop. Now obviously this is probably a little bit more than most people are going to have in their house, but this is how I humidify my shop. So this unit is basically just an ultrasonic humidifier, industrial size. This thing can push up to like 30 gallons of water into the air at a day. So this is a very serious unit. This runs on a reverse osmosis filter, so the water coming into it's very pure. So this mist that you're seeing come out of it, this doesn't leave any like white residues or anything like that. It all dries before it touches the ground. So this stuff literally, you can stick your hand up in here, you'll feel that the air is cool, but your hand's like never going to be wet. So that's why this unit works so good for my shop. Now, obviously, so most shops, or well, most houses, excuse me, most houses aren't going to have a unit like that to make this, applicable for you. Now, they do make units for your house to do this type of stuff, to humidify the whole home, and that way you wouldn't have to worry about it. So now, that being said, most guitars, and we're going to talk about acoustics here for a minute. Acoustic guitars are the ones that need it the most. And the reason they need the moisture is because of the top. So, sorry if I'm getting you motion sick here. So, here's an acoustic guitar top. Now, this top is only like 1/8 of an inch thick, if that. Sometimes a little bit less. And so, when that wood shrinks and it starts to pull and it's attached all the way around the side, it has to give somewhere, and so that's usually when you get a crack. Your most common place for a crack is like right here in the, next to the bridge, straight down here. Occasionally you'll see them off the corner of the bridge here, or you'll see them next to the pick guard. It can't shrink around the pick guard because that pick guard's holding it in place, so right to the side of it, it throws a crack. And so one version that I have in my shop, and a lot of shops will have, is a sound hole humidifier. Now, this unit, like I sell these for $9. It's probably going up right now. This is November 16th, 2021. As everybody knows, everything's going up right now. So right now I have these for $9 each. They might be 10, but here before too long. Anyway, so something like this works just fine. Now, all this is a sponge and a fancy case. So you don't have to overthink this. Literally, a kitchen sponge in a sandwich bag is pretty much the same thing. So as far as like violins, so actually they do make like a violin version type thing. So this is just a sponge in a rubber tube. There again, sponge in a fancy case. Nothing crazy. And then they also make these cello and for bass. Same thing, fancy case, around a sponge. So you don't have to overthink this at all. Now, so there's two reasons, for humidifying your guitar. One is for the top, so you don't crack it. The second is for the neck, because the necks can actually twist, and so they'll twist laterally. So basically, you have the neck like this, so that neck is actually going to start twisting this way. Or this way, one direction or the other, and so then you can't do your setup correctly. And so there's not really a good way. Usually you just have to humidify them to get them back. They also can twist forward and backwards, but that's a different issue. Other care and maintenance. I'm gonna come over here and set you down so we can quit being seasick. You can see I'm working on a stand-up bass right here. Very cool. They're fun. They're huge. All right, set you down so we don't have to. You're not getting motion sick. Other care and maintenance. Basically changing your strings. That is actually, it's like changing the oil in your car. It is fairly important. As strings age, they tend to pull harder and harder on the neck, and so eventually that neck is going to start curling up and bending towards the top. Other than that, keeping it clean, which basically means that the biggest thing you can do is wash your hands before you play, and this just helps cut down on the amount of gunk and crap that builds up on your guitar as you play it. Now, mostly this is for the fretboard area. As you play, the dirt can build up so deep and start to work like underneath the frets, and it'll actually start to pop the frets out because it gets so like packed in there. It's just like a wedge. You just more and more and more drive in there, and that fret comes out, and then we have to go in and clean all that crud out and reseat the fret. So just keeping it clean, and that can be as easy as, like I said, wash your hands before you play, wipe it down when you're done, just a dry cloth, nothing crazy. You don't need to buy expensive polishes and stuff like that. When you change the strings is a great time to like clean the fretboard, and we talked about this in my guitar, string changing thing. Clean the board, clean the body. And mostly cleaning the body is just you're looking it over. That is your doctor's checkup when you change your strings. Look it over. Make sure you don't see any cracks starting. You don't see any stress areas. You can see if the binding's coming loose. You can feel it. And as you clean your guitar regularly, then you know what it looks like, what it feels like. And so if something changes, you now can do something about it. And if you do something about it early, it's much better than if you let it prolong. You don't notice, then all of a sudden, boom, you open your guitar case, you have a split when you notice that top is starting to stress. Now, trying to think. Other things, one of the biggest things is don't leave your instrument where you don't want to be. So that means don't leave it in the hot car, don't leave it in the cold car, don't leave it in the closet, and don't look at it for 10 years. Keep somewhat of a tab on this thing, check it up once in a while. Guitars and instruments that tend to get ignored tend to have problems. In the violin world, there's actually a bug that can get into your case that eats the bow hair, and I'll talk about when we go over violin maintenance. But yeah, so there's like bug problems, mice issues. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. If you're in a moist climate, there can be woodworms. That type of stuff. Like here in the desert, we don't have that issue. We don't have those bugs. Now, we do have the bow bugs, but we'll go over that later. Now, and other than that, in the guitar stuff, there's really not a whole lot. Like, you don't want to leave these things like leaning against a wall with the headstock, on a wall. It will, over time, it'll bend that neck over and give you issues. Now, the guitar does that on its own a little bit, so that extra, leaning the guitar up against the wall and letting it just sit there is not great for it because it just makes it worse. It compounds the problem. Other than that, there's not a whole lot else that you really have to worry about. Humidifying is a great thing. Humidifying, if you're going to do it, now this needs to be like, here in the desert. Now, this isn't for everybody out there. If you have, generally, 40 to 60% ambient humidity in your outside area, in your home, you're good. Don't have to worry about it. You're just fine. Don't worry about humidifying. If you're here, like I'm in southern Utah, so we're in the desert, high desert. In the summer, we get down to single-digit humidities. I mean, we're talking, I've seen it down to 3% humidity here in Cedar City, Utah. So that is serious dry, and you are never going to have to worry about over-humidifying your guitar. You're always fighting an uphill battle. So if you can keep your guitar, around here, I always say if you can hit 30, you're doing great. If you can hit 40, perfect. 50 is where most manufacturers tell you to keep your guitar. I've found in this area, unless you've got a crazy good humidifier like I just showed you, it's not happening. You're just, I mean, you have to put 5 sponges in there, and by the time you do that, you have to worry about mold and all that other crap. So, you know, 30, 40, you're good to go. That'll keep you out of crack zones. You know, you might have a little distortion from drying out, but at least you won't have splits, you know, and it should keep a twist out of the neck. So, yeah, your guitar might be a little, you know, suffering a little bit, but it's not going to permanently damage it. Anyway, that's the major points for guitar as far as like just general care. And yeah, you know, obviously don't step on it, don't car accidents, that type of stuff, don't let the dog chew on it, that type of stuff. Those are all kind of a given. Those I always say go under the if you don't want to be there, don't put your guitar there area, you know. So you know, keep them out of stuff like that. And don't leave them in storage units. Oh, that destroys them. Because not only is it hot, it goes cold, and it goes in between, and it goes extremely dry, and it goes extremely moist. And those extremes, up and down, and dry and moist, those are the hardest things on it. Instruments like to be consistent. So even if you're a little dry, if you're consistent dry, you're better than, you know, going super moist and super dry. So that's why I say, if you're humidifying your guitar, it needs to be religious. You gotta do it. Set an alarm on your phone. They make what they call a Humiditrack from D'Addario, which is a little unit that's battery powered that goes in your case, and it will text you when it says, "Hey, I'm too moist. I'm too dry. I need some help." You can do stuff like that. Those are going to run you about $60, $75 depending on where you buy them. And also, as prices are going crazy right at the moment, they're going to get more expensive. So, just a few hints. Few things to look at, a few things to think about. Hope this helps. If you have more questions, if you want to see a repair, if you want to see how I do things or want me to do shop talk, so we're talking pricing, how to, you know, how to run things about running a business. I am an open book. I like to answer questions. Now, granted, some of these may not be the right answer, the answer that's going to work for you. These are just my experiences. I've been doing this for about 21 years. Anyway, hope this helps. Keep smiling, keep healthy, keep safe. Like and subscribe. Just tell me a comment if you want to see something different. Bye.